Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I can finally share with you the story of these Hestu's Maracas from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Hestu is the forest spirit, an oversized broccoli man, as my wife initially thought he was, who turns up in Breath of the Wild, initially having lost his maracas. You go up a little bit further up the hill and get them back for him, and then they seem to be missing their shaky bits, the seeds that you have to recover that go into the maracas in return for upgrades to your carrying capacity for weapons, shields, that sort of thing. And the maracas, when my wife first saw Hestu do his upgrading dance, she was enamored. She loved the character, loved his playful demeanor, or his or her its playful demeanor, and just I could just see her dancing if she had a pair of maracas like this. And so not long after my own birthday, September the 11th, I thought to myself, what am I going to do for her birthday? It was rapidly coming up at the beginning of October, and this just popped into my head. I just thought, ooh, I know, I'll make Hestu's maracas. In fact, I messaged our friend Ruth and went, I'm going to make these. And she was like, perfect. But that was easier said than done, because initially the problem is getting maracas that are going to be right to build on. And also, frankly, maracas that are going to sound proper as well. There are lots of cheap maracas out there that are just made of plastic, and some of them maybe closer to the actual shape of Hestu's maracas in the game, and also in the Breath of the Wild art book, is it Creating a Champion. It's clear that the maracas are quite round, quite bulbous, and also they're large, because Hestu himself is an oversized forest spirit, maybe 8 foot tall. So I had to make some decisions as to what I was aiming for, and what I wanted was a wooden handle, a good sound with a sort of a variety of things you can do with it, but also as well a shape that was close enough, and ideally a red colour that was close enough that I could start working with. And after an afternoon of searching, I did in fact find the correct maracas, for me at least, online. The next step was to start sort of bulking out the maracas to make them approximate, again, the shape, the handle into the curve, into the sort of the firework popper bit at the top. And I decided to do that using materials I already had in the house, namely foam clay, or actually it was silk clay, which I think is foam clay. And I used various colours because I knew I was going to paint it, and created first of all the nodules on top, the bits where the poof would come out, because that's the biggest alteration to the shape of the maracas, I think, is these bits on top. But then the ring, and then the transition into the handle was something that I went back and forth on actually a couple of times. Thankfully there's quite a lot of work time with that clay. I was able to put it on, see what I thought, pull it off, add a bit of clay, take a bit of clay away, and get the shapes that I was after. The next problem was actually deciding how the colour scheme translated into a 3D object, or rather, sorry, because it's on a 3D model, but into a real world object. These sort of almost Sheikah eye type symbols here, almost, they look as though they could be partly in shadow, and therefore maybe actually the reds are all the same on Hestu's maracas. But actually I decided that they more often than not are portrayed as having a couple of different shades. So there's a darker red on top of the eyelid shape, and also a little ring here on the maracas. And having done that, I printed out to scale for these maracas that shape from Hestu, a Hestu game model, and was able to cut each element of this out bit by bit in 3mm craft foam. Again, the colours didn't necessarily matter, but I actually did colour match. I had a black, white and a red foam for that part, and they're all sitting on an oval of red foam just to raise them up from the surface of the maracas. And it really started coming together. I really could sort of see suddenly how this was going to work. I became very excited, and from there it was just a case of painting. It was several coats of initially a primer paint, just to try and get everything matching in terms of the base colour, and then a nice sort of cherry-ish kind of red colour that, again, even though the maracas are red, and I think that's a good thing, because it means if the paint chips then there's red underneath. Bringing the handle and the plastic in together in terms of the red colour was important, and then hand painting the rest. So I hand painted the details on these eyes, the eyebrows. I got a special calligraphy brush to do that. In hindsight, was it necessary? Probably not, but I liked the feeling of doing these sort of eyebrow things on the four sides of the maracas. And then actually the handles themselves, in the game model, they have a sort of wood texture, wood grain, sort of quite cartoony and swirling, and I wasn't sure how best to capture that, so I initially drew some wood grain on with permanent marker, thin permanent marker, Pica ink pens, and then roughly painted over them with a black acrylic, and then sort of merged these elements together with my finger, to sort of rubbed over the top. And they don't look like wood grain, but they do look like cartoon wood grain, and they feel like wood in your hands. So I think they work, as they say, they sell in that sense. And again, that is really satisfying to hold and to play with. I did get some party poppers, because obviously I wasn't going to put explosives or pyrotechnics inside the maracas. But when she first did her dance on her birthday, I had party poppers ready to go, and that just added to the effect. But there was one element that came to me maybe 5 days before her birthday that I was just so thrilled with this. I was in a car park having just got some food for the dog, when I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we could actually have the song, the sound effect of the dance ready to go at any time. We didn't have to turn on the game and play it or find a YouTube video or something. And then I remembered that one of Mrs. Soup's favourite things online, Instagram and YouTube, etc., is those videos where pets learn to sort of communicate by pushing buttons, so walk, food, that kind of thing. And I thought that's perfect. We just need a button that can play the music. And lo and behold, I looked online, and there was a company based in the UK that could ship this within 3 days. So again, I was cutting it fine, to make a Shalaka button. I printed out, obviously, Hestu and found some Zelda text to go on the button there, and he's ready to go. On the back, there's there are two switches. There's a record and play. So if you switch to record and hold the button down, then you can actually record through the back, or indeed you can actually, there is a capacity, there's an audio in jack that can, I think, plug into USB as well, so you could transfer a file, but I didn't quite have the right lead for that. However, you could hold it down, and I played from YouTube Hestu's dance and just recorded it straight from the speakers. Thankfully, there wasn't too much in the way of reverb or blowing out the sound. I thought there might be sort of bassy or high notes that would just be a bit, but actually it was fine. This is quite high quality recorder in here, and then all you need to do to play it back, once you've finished recording, stop, stop pressing the button, and then you flip this switch to on, and you can push the button, and this will happen. It's very satisfying. And lo and behold, the day came, and I surprised, having given her some hints, because I was getting very, especially when I thought of this button, I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, I've got the perfect thing for you. I can't. And there were a couple of nights when she was struggling again with an aspect of her workload. And I really wanted just to say, look, I've made these maracas for you, and maybe hold the button back as a present element. But she wisely said, no, I don't need to know what you've made me. And also, she didn't want to sort of taint the maracas with the thought and with the sensation of having been very stressed or upset. So we waited for her birthday morning, and well, this happened. I haven't wrapped it too well. Oh no, I haven't. There's a finger holes there. That's the second part of your present. Yep. Yep. Did you like them? So this bit is actually something that will help you enjoy them even more.
Okay. I mean, is that even possible?
I think it is possible. So what it is it's a sound button. So if you turn it on, so there's a switch on the back that says on. So there you go. She loved it. I was so pleased that this idea had come to me in the first place. And I do have an Etsy store. I make, for example, the Zelda compass here for that Etsy store. This, though, represents quite a lot of time for each one, and I'm not sure about the cost prospect, whether people would actually pay what it would cost to make one of these. But if you're inspired, then hopefully you know roughly how to proceed in making an Hestu maracas. And she's thrilled. This now lives in the living room. Every now and then she'll just turn the button on and and then she continues about her day. The dog loves it. We've had friends come and visit, and they love it. Their kids love it. It's a heck of a thing, and I'm so pleased I had the idea to make it. I'm finally pleased that I was able to sit down and tell you all about it. Hestu's maracas, guys. What do you think? I would heartily recommend giving it a go, or at the very least just finding some maracas, because actually the world of maracas, once I started looking into it, is interesting. Like I say, there's a quality of sound that you're after with maracas which actually will make it into an orchestra, for example. You want different sort of ability to shake at different places in the maraca. You want the ability to have subtle sound and larger sounds. And so actually just finding high quality maracas and having those in the house is actually quite therapeutic. So even if you don't do all this to them, just finding maracas, give it a go. And let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.